Hey guys, Calculator here, and today I'm bringing at you a tutorial, tutorial how to build teams, because when I'm battling, I see an awful lot of people who just bring shitty teams on their barrels and even think they're good. So this is more like a beginner's guide on how to build teams. So yeah, let's do this. You should structure your team well first of all, so you can't just run 6 random Pokemon and think they work together. So yeah, you have to think about it a bit at least. So the first thing you should take into account is your lead. Your lead can fill many different roles in your team. It can support, it can kind of sweep, not really sweep, but counter the enemy lead as an anti-lead in some way. And yeah, it can set up some nice stuff, and this is really you need to look at what your team can't do without its lead, because if your lead guarantees you a Stealth Rock setup, you don't need to pack Stealth Rocks on some of your on some of your walls or something. So yeah, you should definitely look at that, and then either decide to go for the support lead or the support suicide lead or the anti-lead. I will list some good lead pokes in the description, I think. And yeah, the other two types of Pokemon that your team consists of are sweepers and walls. Your sweepers are probably the more important things, but you need, even in very aggressive teams, you need to pack at least one wall with a good typing in order to get some switch-ins against enemy threats who otherwise would tear you apart. And for sweepers, you have special sweepers and physical sweepers. I think special sweepers are clearly better in this gen, because there are just so many physical sweepers around that many teams are more prepared for taking hits on the physical side than on the special side. So yeah, that's definitely a thing you should take into account. But just don't run only special sweepers, because then if the enemy has a Blissey or something, you're just fucked basically. No, you can't just sit there and thunderbolting everything or whatever. And walls are probably yeah, they are there to support your sweepers in order to not let them get killed. So you usually pack 2 of them. In really aggressive teams, maybe 1 of them only. But here you have to have a look at your lead again. If your lead doesn't set up Stealth Rocks, your walls should definitely do. And yeah, you definitely need a physical wall, and maybe another mixed wall, so it can take some special hits, but usually I like to counter special sweepers due to resistances or immunities. So I don't need to run a special wall, because since most sweepers out there are physical, it won't do much at all, in my opinion. But oh well. If you follow that rule, lead, sweepers, walls, yeah, 1 lead, 3 sweepers maybe, and 2 walls, you will mostly get a decent team already. But here you have to look at your type coverage. You really need to have a look at your team's weaknesses, and so pack other Pokemon who cover those weaknesses. For example, if you have a SCIZOR on your team, it might come in handy to run HEATRAN on your team as well, since it's immune to fire and SCIZOR's only weakness is fire. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay then. I think you should have a look at those offensive teams as well. As I mentioned earlier, they only run 1 wall, mainly. Some of them even run none, but I don't recommend that, because if your enemy catches you off guard, then you're basically screwed. So yeah, your wall basically should be a mixed wall, kinda, so it can take some hits on the special and on the physical side. And yeah, if you go for a support suicide lead, such as DEOXYS-S, it should be a spin blocker as well. So yeah, that's what I like to do, because if I have my entry hazards up and the enemy can just spin them away, it's really frustrating. And playing around spin blockers sometimes isn't that easy. So yeah, you should definitely run a ghost type. Not necessarily as your wall, but one of your sweepers can be ghost type as well, works too. But I'm more confident when my wall is a ghost. If I need my entry hazards up. And yeah, then you have to really, offensive teams need to keep their offensive momentum. Moves that help you there are U-turn and Volt Switch, but also you can rely on your predictions if you want. So if you think your enemy is going to switch, then take this opportunity and go for the double switch, because it will rack up your entry hazard damage that your lead is supposed to the lead is supposed to set them up, entry hazards, and then you keep your momentum and the enemy takes the entry hazards. So that's what you're going to do. You just rack up damage with them and then hope your enemy is weak enough that one of your sweepers can basically destroy him. And then there are some teams called stall teams. They are consistent out of walls, basically don't have any sweepers at all. And I don't really like them. I don't think they're good at all, because as far as my experience goes, if all of your walls are intact, then you can basically stall out the enemy kinda nicely. But as soon as you have to fodder one wall, then one of the enemy's sweepers is almost guaranteed to be a big threat to you, because it can't be countered properly any longer. And then it just can kill off another wall, and then you are basically in a snowball effect that makes you lose. And yeah, okay, those are the basics for team building, in my opinion. And in Gen 5, I think a really important thing to have a look at are weather teams. Weather teams are really, really powerful, in my opinion, and so if you want a good team, you should definitely try out a weather team. They can really destroy enemies if you keep your weather going. So, first of all, if you're in a weather war, so if you have a weather team, the enemy has another weather team, do not lead with your weather starter. Just don't. You will lose your weather pretty quickly, because if you just lead it with it, your enemy can try to threat your weather starter, which you will need. It's the most important Pokemon on your team if you are in a weather war, and then can just switch in his own weather starter, which clearly is an advantage for him. So just don't do that. Pack another poke that can be elite instead of your weather starter. It's really important. Yeah, basically, in my opinion, the best weather teams are rain teams, simply because water pokes are really strong, and it doesn't have the issue like sun teams that you're very frail if the enemy gets his stealth rocks up, but I'll come to that later. Yeah, rain teams, your core poke, of course, is Politoed, because it sets up rain, and Politoed can fill many different roles in teams. It can be a sweeper, it can be a supporter. I like to run Specs Politoed, as you probably saw if you watch my videos. And it's really powerful. Specs, max special attack, and Hydro Pump in the rain. It can catch the enemy off guard, especially if he expects you to hypnosis or something. Then you can be a big surprise to him and just Hydro Pump with a powerful choice specs. But oh well. In rain teams, you have the disadvantage against sun teams that you are not allowed to pack Swift Swim, because it's banned in OU in Gen 5 and Smogon. But you can run Hydration on your walls, so that's Manaphy's ability, but it really helps you since you get Rest as a reliable recovery move, since it's just gets you at full HP and you get no status at all. So it's really powerful to pack Hydration on them. And you have to take into account that Thunder and Hurricane get 100% accuracy in rain, so you should definitely abuse that as well. And what's another thing good to know?